Greetings, Earthbound travelers. Welcome to Friday by Garth Dokeen's Sacred Taint. We made it. Today is Cast Guidance. I am Tier the DM, world's okayest DM. And with me today, I have, as always, Raph the Mad. Hey, Raph.
Greetings!
And the unruly Lot Clark.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, before we get started, just a couple of quick announcements. First and foremost, we offer mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Secondly, we are not associated or affiliated with any TTRPG producers, publishers, and manufacturers. We are just questionable individuals coming together to give our questionable opinion. And finally, we do not condone the use of vape, cigarettes, cigars, anything nicotine-based. Just because we do it doesn't mean we want you to. We want you to have happy, healthy lives. Locke.
Hi, gamers. I'm Locke Clark. And I hadn't thought about that I had to do this part, so I have nothing prepared except to tell you about our favorite musician, the guy who made the theme song. He nailed it. He knocked it out of the park, and we love him so much. That is our very own Peculiar Patrick. Thanks, Patrick Taylor. Also,
Thanks, Vance.
We would like to thank our partners in this endeavor, the first of which being Red Panda Dice and Delights. They make awesome dice, and you will love them. They are really cool, and you should get some. You can check out their website, Red Panda Dice. It's in the thing, the chat. Look how shiny they are. Look how oh, so pretty. Oh yes, such pretty dice. Look at them. Okay. Look at the pretty cat. Look, this is the Merp. I love the Merp. Yeah, such a Merp. Okay. And then, also, we would like to thank our partner, NordVPN. NordVPN brings you military-grade encryption to your devices. It works on all platforms, all devices. Your PC, your laptop, your phone, your iPad, your Android, your iThing, whatever. And it works on them all. And it does cool things like lets you use Venmo when you're not in the United States, which you can't do otherwise. Just set your location to the US in your VPN, and then your phone will think it's in the US and you can Venmo people. Or, you want to watch a Disney show on Netflix and you don't get Netflix doesn't have that, not in the United States, but in other countries it does, and you just switch where you're at. Also, it will keep you from getting hacked and make sure your information is secure, and it will scrub the dark web and alert you if it finds your name in places and shit like that. So you should check them out, and to do that, you're going to go to our website, willofthedice.com, and you're going to click the link there, and that will take you there, and we'll appreciate you.
Yay. We also want to give a shout out to our affiliate, Phineas Coffee. When you need the caffeine kick to get you through to your next quest, go check out Phineas. It's top tier coffee for gamers. You can get there by going to bit.ly/WOTD Phineas. That's WOTD PHINEAS. And for those of you listening on podcast, the way to get to Red Panda Dice is redpandadice.com.
All right, gamers, now we come down to the very serious nature of this show. What I need you to do, pick your favorite browser, go out to it, type in www.patreon.com, search Will of the Dice, hit that subscribe button, help support us, because that really does help support this channel. If you subscribe, you get access to After the Rolls, where we talk about these silly, strange, and often crazy, silly fuckery Tier does to us, because he's a mean DM. But we also get access to all our episodes before they hit the mainstream YouTubes, the Podbeans, the podcasts. And there's also an audio drama out there as well. So please get out there and help support this channel, because by subscribing, you do support this channel. It does help support us, and we very much appreciate those who do.
Yep. And for the next 17 people that subscribe, we are giving away a Red Panda 55mm Table Shaker D20. We got 3 of them that I think are still pending shipping, but you'll be getting them soon. And it looks like Tech Gremlins have attacked Locke.
No,
I'm good. I'm still here. My cat did something to the back of my monitor, and my monitor shut off, so I can't see or control anything right now. So I blacked my screen so I could stand up and twist the monitor to try and fix it.
While he's
What?
doing that, I'm going to show off my snazzy Star Wars tie. It's X-Wing
Mhm.
fighters.
Yep. Yes. So what you're saying, Locke, is you've been sabotaged by your cat. I'm looking at this shock face right here.
Yes. That's why they're called cat holes.
Mm-hmm. We love them anyways. So, what are we talking about today, Tier?
We're talking about a couple of things. One, we're going to be doing a non-spoiler review of the D&D movie, if time allows. We are going to be talking about borrowing mechanics from other systems to incorporate into your system. And we're going to be talking about whatever else pops up because we love to go on tangents.
What? Shocker. Uh-oh. Did the monitor
I'm back. All right.
Yay.
I found it and I fixed
Yay, welcome back.
it. The cat decided she wanted to go sit in the window, and she walked behind the monitor and she stepped on a cord and pulled the power cord loose a little bit.
Ah, cool. So, do we want to start with the review of the D&D movie?
Sure.
Since you worked so hard on it?
We can do that. Okay, so the movie's really good. It is solid top to bottom. The best way I can describe this movie without spoiling anything for anyone is, to use a sports analogy, this movie is not the high-scoring MVP knocking it out of the park or putting the biscuit in the basket or whatever the fuck the game term you want to use there is. This movie is the person with the most assists on the team because it is just a solid player. It's not the hero. It's not the over the top. It's not the guy who everyone wants the autograph of, but it's the player you want. You know what I mean? Like it's a very solid movie. Its pace is so this movie is not a roller coaster. It's not an up and a down and an up and a down and an up and a down. Its pace is so perfectly consistent and steady. And I know that doesn't sound exciting, but they nail it because you're not bored. The pace just they go from thing to thing to thing to thing. And the movie travels along and does a really good job at it. They somehow manage to work everybody's backstory into the movie without it feeling forced. And they do a really good job. And yeah, they do take some liberties with some mechanics, some D&D mechanics and things. And you know what? When I sit back and I look at those things that they took liberties with, I realize that what they did was try and make it simpler for people who don't play D&D to understand what's going on. Like they kind of boil the classes down to a thing. This is this character's thing. This is what they do. Which is a perfectly fine thing to do for new players, right? You hand them a character and you go, this is the thing this character does. Do that thing. And it's only as you grow as a player, as you grow as a moviegoer in this case, that you're going to learn that that's not the only thing. And, but in simplifying things for the non-D&D audience, they also left enough meat on the bone for us old school players to be invested because there were things going on, undercurrents of things and jokes made as almost throwaways that we all got, you know? So this is kind of a perfect onboarding movie because there's something in it for everybody and there's enough of that for everybody. And the tone is consistent throughout. I was really impressed by how many of the effects are fucking practical.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of practical effects in this movie. Like they and how many races we actually get to see.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My take on it is this is not your epic level Lord of the Rings highfalutin fantasy. No, this is a damn good time. I walked out of that movie going, I've sat in that session before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments like that in there.
I'm looking forward to going and seeing it when I get the chance.
Yeah, it's the thing about it is that like I said, the tone is consistent throughout, and it's a tone you recognize because we've all played at that table that had that the game took that tone on.
Mm-hmm.
And the tone's a little irreverent. You're having fun with what you're doing. You're not taking the campaign overly serious. Yeah. I think I'm not going to spoil anything, but me and Raph will talk about this later. I feel like I think one of the characters is a DNPC, and they handle that. They handle that the way that you would handle a DNPC. It's kind of exactly right for that. What happens when the dungeon master brings in their own character to help the party for a little while?
Yeah, I think I understand. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. But he's
yes,
a DNPC, right? Yeah, okay.
You're not wrong.
No,
I can see that, but it's a lot of fun. It's worth going to see.
Yeah.
And the one-liners and the cracks and the jokes, and it, like I said, we laughed and giggled and had a good time with it. It was a lot of fun. and on that note, the last thing I gotta say is poor Lord Jonathan. Anyway, so meat and potatoes. Plus, I've got other things in the D&D world. WotC had a big creators conference this week that kind of blew up in their face. And we're starting to see some rumorings and murmurings on the web about. So if we want, we can get into that a little bit later.
So what blew up in their face?
Okay, this is like I said, I started coming across this past 2 days, just rumors and whatnot's hitting the various websites. So I dug into this morning. Apparently, about 3 or 4 days ago, Wizards of the Coast invited a bunch of content creators to a seminar, a creator conference with them, both in person and on the over Teams. No one likes Teams, just saying. Yeah, but one of them was Indestructible, the one who broke the news about the OpenGL license and the changes they're making with that. They invited him over to the creator conference, and he was in on it. And he put a big 2.5 hour interview with the rollforcombat.com was Stephen Glicker and Mark Seifter. He basically went over all that happened at this creator conference. And for most people in the trades and these shows, it's okay, here, we're going to show off all our cool things that we're going to try and sell you over the next year or two. Cool. They made the mistake of opening it up for questions at one point. And what was supposed to be a half-hour Q&A session about the new stuff coming out turned into 2.5-hour critique of Wizards of the Coast business practices and ask them why they're doing certain things.
Why do you suck?
Some of it was that, and yes, and some of it was rightfully so, and others, yes, even Indestructible, though, Indestructible is defending Wizards of the Coast on some things, not everything. The video I was watching wasn't a hit piece on Wizards of the Coast. It was a fairly even-handed description of what was going on, things that they're discussing, and where they're coming from. And like you said, there's a lot of things that are going around the web now. All of a sudden, like, there's no longer no more 1D&D. It's all 5th ed now, and no. And it's like what I was saying before the show, it was always 5th ed, but 5th ed plus.
Yeah, they said from the beginning, 1D&D made no pretense about what it was. They said, we're going to keep 5e, and we're going to make some adjustments to it to make it better in what they believe to be a better system.
Yeah,
they are streamlining things, but you know what? And moreover to that, they're asking for our feedback for us to help them make it a better, more usable, more long to give more longevity to the system. And that's the way they should be doing it.
Yep, and they did point that out. But they asked those questions. They enjoyed the fact that they're able to give the feedback. Just sometimes Wizards of the Coast implementation was not the greatest.
Yeah, and you know what? But I think it shows. I'm gonna devil's advocate. I haven't watched the video you watched.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Raph discovered it. Raph woke up at like stupid o'clock this morning.
Yes.
And then couldn't sleep, and then found this thing, and then sent it to me at like 9:30, and I did not have time to watch it before this. So I know Tyr didn't have time to watch it either. So
probably table to next week too a bit. I think once we dig into the meat of it.
Yeah. But I want to say, like, they invited the guy that broke the story that cost them the most money this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they invited people to ask questions of them. This is this is them saying, "Hey, we're trying to do better. Tell us how to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you think we're failing." And I applaud them for that.
Yeah, you have to. You got to, because they're actually listening to the community. What
Right.
other company out there is doing things like releasing play tests and then releasing surveys so they can get feedback and paying attention to the feedback? This
Right.
was absolutely evident with the critical hit roll, where your DM couldn't hit a crit, where it was only melee weapons, no longer could crit on a spell. The people spoke and they changed it in the playtest.
Yes.
That's unheard of.
Yes, and then some that was brought up in somewhat what I have watched. I guess the issue was in when Wizards of the Coast was asked some very direct questions. The executive vice president that was there, I'd have to go look up his name, was very, very dodgy, and not. But then one of their media collaborators popped up, was pretty much saved the show for everybody, and started answering frank and honest questions about things, which I think was what a lot of people were looking for. Here, give us a frank, honest answer so we can go forward with things.
I mean, look. Yeah, I can't be mad about that.
Mm-hmm.
About the executive like dodging the questions. You know why? Because how often have you met a fucking executive that knows shit?
And
That
the
executive-
congregation said, "Amen."
That executive was probably shitting his pants because he was afraid he would say something the wrong way and cause them to lose a bunch more subscriptions because the internet would get up in arms about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, he's being evasive until the person whose fucking job it is to handle media relations steps up and is like, "No, wait, I know how to say these things in the way, and if I don't know how to say it in the correct way, I'm going to lose my job because that's my entire fucking job." Yes! There's nothing wrong with this. The executive doesn't know how to answer those fucking questions.
Yeah, and it very much, I guess the tone I got was very much the C-suite executives didn't quite understand what they'd just done when they asked for questions and were scrambling, and they're still not sure how to connect with the gamers. But when you get the gaming people and the gamers involved at Wizards of the Coast, they understand, and the people who are working on the product understand, are able to actually talk to the crowd of the gamers and makes things make sense. Last I saw, they're ripping on Games Workshop, or not Games Workshop. Ooh, thank you, Siri. Ripping on D&D, the new virtual tabletop, because they kept saying this is not a video game. It's not a video game. Are we playing on a video game on a computer with video game specs? Oh yeah. So what makes it not a video game?
Because it's still a TTRPG.
That you move around on the computer, and yeah.
Look,
They were starting to blur the lines there. They were just being slightly obstinate.
their virtual tabletop looks phenomenal, running on the Unreal Engine. It looks sexy as fuck, but it's going to be a resource hog. It is going to be a resource hog from hell, and this is why I will still advocate for Owlbear.
No, I'm not
Oh
going to.
yeah, no, absolutely. And like, all right, if we want to compare virtual tabletops to video games, and I don't think that's a fair comparison, quite frankly, but that's,
Well, we're starting to get to that line where it's starting to blur as the next generation start coming out.
I don't care. But like Owlbear versus like we're playing, it's like playing original Doom. We're playing original Doom on Owlbear. And the new virtual tabletop is I'm trying to think what's new. It's the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It is shiny and pretty and has the latest graphics, but it's the same thing we've been doing for a while. It's not that different.
No.
We're
attack
playing a virtual tabletop. We're just playing a better one. You can play D&D in fucking VR and have the table and the miniatures to move around. Like, you're still not playing a video game. You're still just playing D&D, guys. If you want to play a D&D video game, go play the old DDO. It's still out there. It's still running. And they've added a bunch of shit apparently recently. They've added some new worlds you can go to. You can now go to Faerun, Eberron, Ravenloft, and I think there's another one now you can go to. So,
Yeah, to just the resource hog, that was brought up to him in the creator conference. Then like, what? Oh, you guys want to be able to use this on your phone and the rest of that? Oh, okay, we'll look into that. So, and it's part of the design cycle when you build these things, I guess, as they point out, is you build it on the good machine because that's what you're working on, and then you work to optimize it for less resource intensive machines and things once you figure out that it's all actually working. It's called optimization for a reason.
So there's some good things going on in chat. We're going to start with 2 questions. That says Unreal is quite capable of doing resource-light games. Look at Deep Rock Galactic, and that they're shocked they don't have mobile support at the onset. I'm not shocked because they're competing with things like Telspire. So we'll see if they make it resource light or not. I'm skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
SiriCat says they want the CEO answer what they mean by saying D&D is under monetized, as this is not Microsoft and microtransactions are not the way. I think we all want that answer, honestly.
No. And that's just Hasbro being greedy. I'm sorry.
And microtransactions are going to be the way. And that's kind of what they did bring out about this. They've also said you will have to purchase the new set of books again once they come out, because there've been so many changes. So, but I think most of the crowd kind of expected that anyways, so they weren't shocked with that. But you would also have to purchase them on D&D Beyond.
So, well, I mean, the odds are they will put out a bundle, and you can get the hardback and the thing, and you can get they'll put out a variety of bundles. Is my thinking. Like, you can just buy the digital bundle of the 3 main books, or you can buy the digital bundle of the 3 main books and get them digitally and hardcover.
Yep.
Or you can just buy a hardcover of the PHB and get the digital copy as well, or whatever. You can. I'm sure there will be a variety. I'm sure there will be ways to do all of it. And you know what? Like, guys, it's been 10 years.
Yeah, that's been
We've been
brought up.
playing 5e for 10 fucking years. And they're not negating all the books. Like, this is the first time, the real first time, that we're getting backwards compatibility out of a new edition of D&D.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So all your books are still going to be viable. You just have to make some little tweaks. Like, it's still the same core system.
Uh-huh. Like, which version of the Moon Druid are you going to use?
Yeah. Any adventures you've bought, any source material that you've bought. All of that source material still works.
Yep. Yeah, they kind of blasted Jeremy Crawford on that about some of the backwards compatibility stuff. So I got 2 versions of the Moon Druid I can use now since it's backwards compatible. The one you guys put out with the new version and the old version is still good too. Considering the old version is one of the more hyper broken ones.
I mean, look, I feel like it's a gotcha question. I don't
Well,
feel
it
like it's a
was.
real question.
But you know, someone put Jeremy Crawford on the spot with it, so
That makes me happy.
Yeah, but
that makes you happy.
yeah, but I don't know. But wait, when has it ever not been the case that you could still use the old version when they put out a new version of something?
Exactly.
When has that ever not been the case?
It's not. That's the thing about
That's
it.
a stupid question to ask.
It is a gotcha question. It is a question meant to. It's clickbait, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's Jesus. I don't.
And here's the thing. Okay, like you said, we've been playing 5e for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I am not adverse to buying a new DMG, PHB, and Monsters Manual. I'm not adverse to that at all. I just want them to maybe cut people that already own it on D&D Beyond a deal or some shit, so I'm not having to pay full price. But that's because I'm a cheap bastard. So
No, and it's fair. But as a publishing company, them wanting to put out a new version of their books and get people to re-up and buy them again every 10 years is not that bad a deal, guys.
no, it's not.
Go join go follow Games Workshop for a while. You won't have any problem whatsoever.
Yeah, every 3 years they change
Additions, yes.
Editions, and none of their editions are backwards compatible.
And
you got to do everything new.
And let's remember, let's all just take a second and mentally jump in the Wayback Machine and remember how great 3.5 was. And then, because it had been years since they had put out a new version of the books and they wanted to make that money again, and we didn't begrudge them that, but then they came out with a system that was just fucking awful. And this time, they found a way to keep the good system and to improve on it with our help and then sell us those books. And we're all bitching about it still.
Well, yeah. Isn't that how this works?
I mean, complaining and whining and bitching is our God-given right as D&D players. But that nonetheless, it's my right to complain about the complaining. So
fair enough.
So I got to go off tangent. I got to go way out in left field.
Okay.
Got to ask the audience a question. I'm thinking about making a shirt and tie my new DMing attire. What do y'all think? Instead of wearing my normal T-shirts, I DM every session in a shirt and tie. Let me know what you guys think.
2 questions. Yeah, meta kvetching. Yeah, I love
yes.
it. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So yeah, we usually see what else comes out of it because, like I said, it was all invite only to their thing, so they didn't have a live stream of it as it happened. So it's now the snippets of what people were there attending are saying and putting out.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been most of the response in general has been meh. There's been good. There is good. There is bad. And some of it sounds like I think the people who matter in Wizards Coast took some of what was said there and are taking it back to try and go fix some other things too.
Kudos to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still listening.
Yep.
That's what we've been saying the whole time. They're listening. They're doing it right. Like,
they're trying in spite of C-suite executives. So,
yeah. And maybe the C-suite executives will start to see how the picture works now.
Maybe.
Like, to see
Hopefully.
that these people know what the fuck they're doing and they're giving the audience what the audience wants and we're making money.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just keep our fucking asses out of the way.
Yep.
Just my 2 cents.
So
I've been wrong before.
what?
Just one time.
Uh-huh.
I've never been wrong. It's a curse. If I can find a polyhedral dice tie, I will definitely get one.
Don't encourage him, because then we'll all have to dress up.
No, you don't.
Uh-huh.
Look, when I first started DMing, I wore my Norse coat, but it is made of wool and it is very hot. And I would sit here and be like, "Ugh." But I wanted a signature DM look, and I haven't found it yet. And I think I found it. I think the shirt and tie is the way to go. I'll get somebody to help me find a polyhedral dice tie.
I know of a source for good nerd ties. I'll find it and send it to you.
Cool.
I don't know if they do polyhedral dice ties, but they do Star Wars, they do Marvel, they do like DC.
Uh-oh. The audience is revolting against you, Terry Locke.
I know. I don't mind dressing up in a suit and tie. Fucking hell. You know what? I'm a clothes horse and I dress pretty.
No, there will not be a dress code. I will not force my players to dress up. I'm just looking for
Siri, don't worry. When I come back from Georgia in 9 weeks from now, I will have my garment bag with all of my suits in it with me, and then I'll have suits. I didn't bring it when I moved up here because there wasn't enough room for it in the car. And I didn't think I was going to need a suit anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. So
far, 80% is yes, they want me to wear a shirt and tie. So there we go. New DM attire.
Which means that on this show you can still dress down because you're not DMing on this show. You're just hanging out and talking D&D.
I may just dress up for the fun of it. I miss dressing up.
I'm just giving you shit. I don't know.
I know.
I'm rules lawyering when I don't need to.
And I love that you give me shit.
many guys. So what was the topic for the show to begin with before we got tangented right away?
Oh yes. Borrowing mechanics from other systems.
Yes.
To implement into your TTRPG.
Mm-hmm.
One of the mechanics that I'm now, if I am wrong on this, correct me. I bought a deck offline on Amazon of Pathfinder Critical Hit. So Pathfinder has Critical Hit. They do or they don't? They
do. And at the Pathfinder table I sit at, the DM uses both Critical Hit and the Critical Fail decks. They're great when it's going for the player. They're not so great when it's going against the player.
So I implemented Critical Hit into Tierbot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did, and we actually used it.
We didn't use the Critical Hit. We used the Critical Fail. Yes,
we did use Critical Fail during my game for Tierbot for my one shot I did. I will give you kudos. I like the Tierbot, and it's right there, easy for me to type in, and boom, I got a Critical Hit or Critical Fail effect.
I'm now working on DJ Jazzy Tier, our own music bot. Once I get the volume control working, it'll be ready to implement.
Cool.
Because I'm tired of having to pay for a music bot.
And then it dies within 3 or 4 months because something happens.
Yep, because of YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you, but back to you're borrowing the Critical Hit and Critical Fail chances and ideas from that deck and bringing it into your game.
Yes.
And having played with that deck, there's a lot of cool things, but it cuts both ways.
Well, and that's the thing about it is whatever's good for the players is good for the NPCs. You know?
Yeah. but yeah, it's cool and that's fun. And as much as I stand in fear of that sometimes, I think I like that mechanic a little bit more than just, you just take double damage or you drop a weapon. It adds a little more spice, a little more description, a little something different for you actually rolling a 20 or a 1.
And there's an insta-death potential.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, the insta-death, and I need to add it to the description, does not work on BBEGs.
Damn it.
I will not let you instant kill a big bad guy. They are too powerful. They have resistance to insta-death.
Mm-hmm. Now, the rule we use on our Pathfinder table is if you roll 3 nat 20s in a row, whatever you hit just died. Just don't bother. It's dead. Because if you pull that off, I was doing good this week. I got 2 nat 20s in a row. And it was a glorious, glorious thing. But what other rules? Yeah. Borrowing from other systems is perfectly acceptable. I highly encourage it if it adds flavor, adds something to your table. Caveat being, don't make it overcomplicated.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I've seen this done well, and I've seen it done poorly. I've seen someone try to do this with a combat system to try and make the combat system more realistic in general, and they wound up bogging down combat so hard.
Mm-hmm.
There was a system that I wrote for a minute called Imagine, and they did, like, it was a fun game, but combat did drag because you put on armor the way real people put on armor. So you had layers of armor. You know, you could have a gambeson and then a chain shirt and then plates put on over that. And so you had every part of your body had an armor rating based on what armor was covering that part of your body. And then when you attacked something or something attacked you, you had to declare, I'm swinging from upper right to lower left at a diagonal. And then you rolled a hit, and your hit, if you missed, you might not miss by that much. And so it might move the path of your blade over in a, slightly one direction or the other. And then you don't hit the target you were intending to, but you still hit them. And now you got to figure out how much damage they take based on what armor in the place that you hit. Like, it really did slow down combat, but it made combat more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
We need that. Do we?
Yeah.
And
look, I will throw in the critical hits and the critical fails. I've always used critical fails.
Yeah.
I'll throw in the critical hits because it adds a little bit of flavor, adds, some variety to it, but it doesn't slow things down much. You type in a command in chat and roll with it.
It slows down things in the right way. And I say that because when you roll a critical failure, you automatically you vapor lock. Your ass puckers and you go, oh, shit. And then playing with Tyr and his critical fail system, we all know now we wait. Now we hold our breath and wait while the dice are rolled to tell us what bad thing befalls us.
Mm-hmm.
And that suspense is the good kind of bogging down combat.
yes,
Not the, I want to swing my sword, but now we've got to figure out 13 different variables. So, like, that's,
and
there's good bogging down and there's bad bogging down. You got to balance the thing.
But we've seen that in the industry trending in general, both as TTRPGs and regular tabletop gaming itself. The old days of the heavy rule set where here I got a rule for absolutely everything and it takes us 15 hours to play one turn game is gone. Players don't want that. Companies are paying attention to that. A lot of the new games hitting the actual tabletop scene, they're all quick. They're all
look at the one-page RPG phenomenon.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. People don't want the huge rules. They want to play, have fun, and not spend hours arguing and looking up rules. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a corollary.
So one of my favorite to steal, and I did this for my most recent heist campaign, was flashbacks.
Yep.
The flashback system from Forged in the Dark. It's a great tool. It's something you can work into your game with almost no effort or cost. And it cuts down the thing it eliminates, and the thing we all kind of hate in D&D. I mean, kind of hate.
Well, no, we hate that in any gaming system in general.
Right. It's not just D&D, but the thing, that whole. We sat down to play, and the team, the players know the objective, but now they're going to spend 2 hours spitballing a shitty plan, and the whole time you as the DM are going, "Are you fucking crazy? That's never going to work."
That's one of the things I love.
But at the same time, you're like, "Oh God, they're gonna, I know what's there, and they're going to walk in there and they're going to do that. They're going to get eaten immediately. This is going to be a TPK. Shit, I got to rewrite things real quick because they're about to be dumb."
Unintentionally, mind you.
Right. Whereas with the flashback system, you go, okay, the whole Forged in the Dark system is, you tell me, are you going in the front door? Are you coming at him sideways, or are you hitting him in the back? Like, how sneaky are you fucking being? And once I know your approach, then we start the thing. We just go. And if at any point you realize I should have planned for that, you go, hey, I need a flashback. And this is where we plan for that, and this is what I have to counter that. And it's such a simple system, and it takes all that arguing and bickering back and forth about what... I mean, sometimes you need that as a DM because you haven't actually planned what they're going to go do. And they just think you have, and you need them to talk for 2 hours while you write the adventure.
What? No,
that never happens. None of us have ever done that. No.
What? My storyline? They're going to do that? Oh, well, quick, scramble, got to fix it.
Allow me to show you saintly tier.
To address something that 2 questions brings up in chat. That's what video games are for, where the computer does the number crunching for you. And you know what? I can see that being the drive to the tighter rule set, to the quicker rule set. It's because we as gamers are used to having the number crunching, the rule crunching power of a computer behind us when we're playing video games, so that when we come to the tabletop, we don't want to have to fuss with that. In general, I think that's what's led to it.
I like what Audacious says, that some players make extreme rolls in those situations and make things work that never should work. I'm going to give you a perfect example of this. Scions of Oblivion. The heist in the Emerald Forest, in the library of the Emerald Elves. There is no way in hell they should have got through without triggering at least one alarm. But between Dandy's extremely high rolls and Karak casting guidance every 30 seconds, they pulled off the unheard of perfect heist. I was disappointed in some ways, but in other ways, I was so proud.
To be fair, the first spell I cast was Find Traps, so I saw all the traps in the room, and then was just spamming guidance on the rogue as we made our way through them. So we had an idea of what was there, and then we were just methodically making our way through. And Dandy was a rogue with expertise. Their trap disarming was fucking through the roof. So even on a shitty roll, they were still rolling like high 20s.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they still threw bacon at an explosive device.
Later, we don't talk about that. I was
Again,
trying to
our
hold
phobia
the
of
ship
airships.
together, and I blew it apart. And we don't talk about that. All right.
Again, phobia of airships.
Yeah.
You're just upset because I started off our offline game by saying we're going to purposely crash an airship with you on it.
Yes. At least you're
I mean, that's
honest
how I
that
woke
time.
That's how I woke up in an offline game. Like in the quarantine
Yeah.
game, that's how they found Dar.
Yeah.
2 questions. That's half the bit of Blades in the Dark and other Fit D games. There's a stress mechanics where you can make big sacrifices to do something impressive and dumb and make it work when it really matters.
Yeah. Although stress is your HP in when you run out, the brilliant thing about the Forged in the Dark system is that you don't take, I mean, you take damage, you can take harm, but harm is meaningless for the most part. It's something you have to take care of. It gives you some penalties. But the real damage is if you run out of stress while you're on a job, you take trauma. And trauma will affect your character going forward. And once you build up enough trauma, that character has to retire because they're no longer functional.
What?
So, like, yeah, that's I love that as a system. It's hard to map that onto another system, but it's still a really good system. Yeah, the clocks from Forged in the Dark are also great. Especially for us DMs. Like, for, I'm going to set a clock and you're going to have to get this many successes before the bad guys get X number of successes. And we're just going to keep track of that as wheels on a clock. And we're going to see who gets there first, who fills the clock first. And whoever fills it first succeeds. It's great for chase scenes. It's great for escape scenes, stuff like that. Like, it's really good. When you want to put something in the character's way and say, but you don't want to drill down on it too hard. Okay, you guys need to get through. You're trying to get out of this building. The building is on lockdown. Each one of you is going to get to make a roll. And you need to, you each need to figure out a different way that you're helping get out of this building. And then we'll make a roll based on that. And then, if you can complete the clock before the bad guys get to you, then, then you get out. And it's a really simple way to boil something down if you don't want to, if drilling down on it isn't the right move in the campaign at that moment.
All right, it's time for us to take our break. We're going to take 10 minutes, grab our snickety snacks, our beverages of choice, handle our business, and we'll be back to talk about more TTRPG stuff. So make sure you hang out. We'll be back. much for hanging out while we took our break, got our snickety snacks and our beverages of choice. We're talking a little bit of everything today. Mainly, we've been talking about borrowing from other systems, incorporating it into your games. We talked about the Forged in the Dark flashback. We talked about the critical hits from Pathfinder. What you got, Ref?
Right now, we're borrowing the 3.5, no, correction, the 3.5 edition of Castle Building for our Pathfinder campaign. Because the Pathfinder 1.0 version of making castles for your campaign, for your characters to get higher level, was atrocious. So they went back to D&D and stole that one, and that one works much better. It's kind of an interesting system. It's based on spaces. It's not actually based on how many square foot of stone. It's like you buy a fancy bedroom. Check. Make yourself a fancy bedroom. You buy a barracks. It holds this many people. Check. You buy that. You put it on your map somewhere.
Nice.
So it actually works pretty well just playing with it because I like that type of stuff. But again, not for everyone.
Yeah. Well, that addresses and then this is another one you can steal. It's not really a mechanic so much as a resource. And I've advocated stealing this resource for years for DMs. In the Champions system, Champions 2.0, I think, in the back of the book in the DM section, there was a list of player types for the DM. These are the types of players that might sit down to play at your table. This is what they want out of the game. And you as the DM should be prepared to give them something that lets them have fun. And here's what to expect from these players and how you can tinker your game to allow them the most fun they can have. And one of them was the architect. And the architect wants to build something that lasts in the world. And that's what that system specifically allows you to do. And you know, as a DM, understanding that what type of players you have is really, really important, and lets you model your game in a way that's going to make the most people the most happy. You know, some of your players are going to be the hack and slash, the guy who works a long, hard work week and just wants to kill things when they sit down to play an RPG. And there's nothing wrong with that if you understand that that's what the rest of the players at the table also want. Or there are ways that you can be like, I'm going to make sure that they get what they want while giving the plumber, who is the person that likes to delve the depths of their character and play in the nitty-gritty psychological aspects of the characters, what they want too. You can balance those things better when you understand what your players want. And some players are easier to fulfill. I personally, according to the Champions system, identify as both a genre fiend, which means that if we're playing in a genre and the DM misses a trope that they could have nailed, I'm going to do my damnedest to bring that trope in somehow, to make it, to point out when those moments are that this is tropey and we should lean in. And then the other thing is I'm a pro from Dover, and the pro from Dover wants to be the best there is at the one thing. I don't need to be the best there is at everything. I don't need to be Dritz, but I need to. And I'm sorry, I throw a little shade there based on last week's conversation. But anyway, I don't need to be Dritz. I want to be really good at this one niche thing that I do. And if somebody else in the party is better at me than that thing, then I'm going to want to find a different niche so that I can have that moment to shine and be the best at X.
Well, that delves into a different conversation entirely, because all your players need that niche. That's their thing to hold on to keep them active, engaged in the party.
but some players are more focused on it than others.
Mhm.
Some players don't care about having their niche as long as they're they're getting to plumb the depths of their character's dark trauma or whatever, like it just depends on what the player really wants. What's the priority for the player, and managing to balance that with what the rest of the party needs, giving them opportunities to do it, giving the architect an opportunity to build something in the world that's going to last and still be around. Tyr does a great job for architect, because his world system, his world setting has longevity, and things that we do echo. Like if I was an architect and I had played in the quarantine game, the opening to Scions, getting to see the statue of our characters, would really have scratched that itch. And I mean, it scratched that itch for me, but I'm not an architect, so I didn't need that itch scratched as hard, but it was there. Like there was something endemic in the world, something lasting in the world that we had done.
Mhm.
At 66 from chat says that bennies from Savage World, they're used for advantage or roll bonuses. I'm not familiar with the Savage World RPG, so that's something I will check out.
Savage World is fucking great.
Mhm.
It's a great system. I've read the book. I haven't personally played it. I have a friend who plays it a lot and really advocates for it. And me and him could never get our schedules to match up so I could play a game with him. But like, I liked the idea of the system when I read it.
Mm-hmm. For those who are in the video world and saw me reach for a book, yes. As soon as Locke started talking about player archetypes, I immediately went to the book I picked up called Extreme Dungeon Mastery by Tracy and Curtis Hickman. Some point I sent you guys copies. We should review it, but if you can find it, it's a really good read for DMs, both new and old. It's a little tongue-in-cheek at times, which is fun, so it makes it entertaining to read, but it talks a lot about how to give your players that itch they want scratched and how to start games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm gonna break form for a second here. Because you've all heard me shit on 4th edition more than once. Damn near me.
It had a few decent points. I won't say.
There are 2 mechanics from 4th edition that I would steal and put in a game in a heartbeat. And that was the minion system from 4th Ed was really good. The ability for your, I think it costs a feat to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to take the leadership feat, and then you could have minions. And minions didn't really do a lot, but what they did do, like, really helped. Like, having someone to watch your shit while you were gone. Having someone, and like, Tyr, I hadn't thought of this until just now, but as I'm saying it, a version of the minion system for having a crew on our Spelljammer could be really fucking useful.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a thought. The other system from 4th Ed that I'm going to recommend is Bloodied.
Yes, I remember that. That's not a bad way to go with things, especially given 5th Ed's issues
Bloodied
with death.
Was but Bloodied, you got bonuses when you drop below a certain percentage of your hit point total. You fought a little harder now that because you're closer to death, and so you're a little more desperate. So there was a whole system for how that worked. That was really cool. I dug that system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I shit on 4th edition a lot because 4th edition was of them trying to make a video game. They were trying to capitalize on the World of Warcraft fandom, and bring that into tabletop, and it just didn't work on the whole. But they had a couple of good ideas.
Yes. Pat 66 4th edition is a good miniature battle system. Yes. I'll go with that. And they did it poorly, but I did like out of 4th Ed just the general concept of breaking away from the single sheet of paper. That you had actions you could do every turn, abilities you could do every turn, things that they brought it away from just, all right, here's your sheet of paper, away you go. Is a little more actively involved with things.
Yeah, you had in fourth ed, and I know I'm going to fuck this up because I didn't play it. I read the books and decided I didn't like it. But you had at will actions.
Mm-hmm.
You had
like once a day, once an hour, once a day, once a turn, actions you can do throughout the day and time.
You had some once a combat actions, stuff like that. Yeah. My problem was that system by its nature made every character feel like a spellcaster, no matter what you were doing.
Yep.
So I didn't care for it.
No, I didn't care for how they implemented, but it gave some thought, though. It gave the fighters a lot to do. Here, I had this really cool move I could throw out there now instead of just swing a stick.
I'm going to switch to chat right quick.
Yep.
2 questions says they haven't played at many tables that really cater to architects. At other tables, they've even asked about it, and the GM didn't want to do it for the PCs. I'm sorry. I think that I try to cater to all types at my table. I try to get everybody's itch scratched. But one of the big things about Ruinous Kesha is that it is living, it is growing, and everything has an impact and becomes part of its history.
Yep. I know I've mentioned this before, but I remember playing 3rd edition. I think we were playing 3.5 at the time. And the wizard in the party wanted to build a keep that would be the home base for the party. And building the keep gave the wizards certain bonuses, let them do enchanting better and stuff like that. And so we went on entire quests to get magical material things that we needed to build the keep and make the keep cooler, like hunting a gorgon to get gorgon blood to put into the mortar of the keep to magically protect the keep. Because gorgon blood gave you a cool warding thing you could do on your keep if you mixed it in the mortar. So like it opened up, like we fed the DM, like, we're going to build this thing. Here's an adventure that we're going to go on next. And we've kind of hijacked your campaign a little bit, but we're doing this now. I don't know if any of you have ever read the boat story from D&D, from 5e. A group of players steal a boat, and the DM had an entire campaign set for them, like after they stole the boat, with pirates and things, and they decided they wanted to run a business taking people out on boat tours, and got more involved and we're having more fun with the logistics of running a business centered around their boat than they were about adventuring anymore, and got mad at the DM when he threw pirates at them. Because they just wanted to run a boat game. They just wanted to run a business. And like that I think that encapsulates what we're talking about. Like sometimes you just gotta bend to the will of the players and let them, they don't want to play the game I wrote for them. They want to play this other thing, and they're happy, and I should help make them happy. And I should save what I wrote for some other party, and then I've got it ready. I've got it in the bag and ready to go. Because how hard is it to start a game where you go, you guys have stolen a boat, and you have this thing you have to get from here to there, haha, and now you start them in an adventure. Like,
yes,
Dirty Cat, you're so right. Yes,
no plot survives contact with the players.
Adesha, but you're talking taking people with money out on a particular sailing path. Of course there will be pirates.
Right? No, I agree. I agree, but fighting pirates wasn't what was making the players happy.
Mhm.
And so, like, I think, and I want to say, if I remember correctly from that story, like, I've seen it circulated several times, but like, they wound up hiring Muscle to defend them from pirates so that they didn't have to actively worry about it. They just, no, we're just going to hire people to do that. We have enough money now. We don't have to fight the pirates. We can hire people to do that.
Uh-huh.
And the DM's like, God damn it. I wanted them to fight the pirates. What you wanted isn't important to the success of the game, bro. Sorry.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to disagree with that because it has to be fun for everybody.
It's true, but the DM, see, all right, I agree with you. But the DM never said he wasn't having fun running their business campaign. The DM was just at a loss because I wrote this cool thing for them and they're not appreciating it. Well, you need to pivot and figure out how to make them appreciate it. If you're having fun running a game for these people, then you kind of got to lean into what they're doing. If you can't lean into what they're doing, then this isn't the game for you, and they need to find someone to run the game they want. But the DM never said he wasn't enjoying it. He just kept trying to shoehorn them towards the thing he wanted that he had written already, because he had written it. He'd put work into it, and I get that. I get that notion, but like, if he had said he wasn't having fun with it, I would be with you, dear. But because he didn't say that, we can't.
This is another reason I improv most of my shit, so that I can be flexible with you guys.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I agree with Pat 66. Would it just be a 3-hour tour?
See, that's the shit I would do. There'd be a storm. They'd be shipwrecked. They'd have to survive on an island. I would just go watch a bunch of Gilligan's Islands episodes and use that for my plots. That gives me an idea.
God damn it.
Krakens. No Krakens. Krakens do not fit with rainbows, puppies, and unicorns.
They do. Just ask Karak in the group from Silence of Oblivion about Krakens.
No. So here's one I hadn't thought of in a long time. Anybody else play the Marvel RPG back in the day?
A lot. I enjoyed that game system and just playing with that.
So first off, let's just say Marvel, rather than using numbers for your stats, your stat was an adjective. And each adjective represented, like, they took the iconic character associated with said adjective. For example, incredible. If you had incredible strength, you had Hulk level strength. If you had amazing strength, you had Spider-Man level strength, so on and so forth. And there was a whole, like, tier system.
And a chart to go with it.
And when you got above...
God.
When you got above Cosmic, I think, was the top one, you went into Shift Y and then Shift X powers, yeah. But there was a stunt system in that game, which very, very brilliantly mimicked, like, things from the Marvel Universe, like Colossus and Wolverine doing the fastball special. It was a maneuver that you practiced, and you had to succeed at doing it a couple, 3 times. And then you get to put it on your sheet as a stunt that you could pull off, and it had its own stats. And they had a system by which I'm going to try this thing. Like, and you didn't need a partner to do a stunt. You could do it by yourself. Like, I played a character that had teleportation like Nightcrawler once. Also, I should point out that in this system, everything was random. You rolled your character randomly. So what powers you had, they could be all over the place. But
Yeah, some weird combinations.
yeah. So I was but I was playing a character with Nightcrawler S, and I wanted to do the I teleport really fast and appear to come out at the same time from multiple locations and all throw a punch. Something we've seen Nightcrawler do 100 times in the comic book, where he's just poof, 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 and each one of them throws a punch, and then he's back where he started. And it took me several game sessions to master that stunt, but once I had it, and we set a specific that does this much damage when you pull off this stunt. And it was very clunky the first couple of times until I mastered it, and then once I mastered it, it was just a thing that I could do that made me feel really cool when I got to do it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that building that stunt system. That was fun because I had a set of elementals we were playing with. One was a flame, and I had the air elemental. So I would take the sector because there weren't like even divided grid. They were just sectors, and I'd fill it with oxygen, and then he would throw a fireball into it, and then we'd have a huge explosion. And we spent time developing that for a massive damage. But you had to have the two characters do it. But it allowed for that role play and that coordination, that working together to make this happen.
Right. Or like, I mean, another great solo example of that would be like The Flash. I know that's DC, not Marvel, but give me a break. The Flash creating a whirlwind. That's a stunt based on his powers. It's not inherent in his powers. It's something he figured out how to do. And so the process of making that move work is how you build your stunt. And I really liked that system. It's a good system and worthy of stealing.
Yeah. Yeah, once you step out of the basic fantasy D&D genre, you start to find all sorts of interesting systems, interesting ways of looking at problems and making things happen. Let's see.
Good question says that reminds them of Fate, if we've played it. I've not played Fate.
I haven't either, but I'm aware of it. I was just about to point out that the bennies from
Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds. That is similar to Fate from drama points from 7th Sea, or Fate points from Fate, or action points from which game was it used action points?
Oh,
I don't remember. Anyway, but like several games have these mechanics where you get a certain number of points and you can earn points from doing things, and then you can spend those points to get yourself advantage, for lack of a better term, on a roll. And if you're using a system like that where it's kind of like the inspiration system in D&D, except that you can have more than one. You can have a bank of them and you can spend them to get a little boost.
Or a bigger boost, you spent a whole lot of them.
Right. Or, to relate it back to what we were just talking about, if you're using a stunt system, then you can require that an action point, a Benny, a fate point, whatever, is what you have to spend on doing your stunt, to be able to do your stunt.
Interesting. I'll have to look into this. What else we got, chat?
Yeah.
While we're waiting for chat, another one from the Powered by the Apocalypse system that I really like and would be a perfect way to implement earning something like action points or bennies is the bonds system. So in Powered by the Apocalypse, when you do character creation, you have to have bonds with other characters at the table. Each player picks two people, two other players, and says, I have a bond with that person. Now, the bond can be positive or negative. It can be a rivalry. It can be a debt. It can be whatever. But you have some sort of connection to that person. And that person doesn't have to reciprocate the connection. But everyone has to have two. And then at the end of in that system, at the end of a session or an adventure, you evaluate, you go through your bonds, and that's how you earn XP in those systems. You go, that's one of the ways you earn XP anyway. Hey, I role played this bond that I have on my sheet with Fred. I addressed the bond directly in role play with Fred. Do we feel like we've kind of resolved that bond? Okay, then I'm going to cross it out. I'm going to mark XP for it, and then I'm going to write a new bond. And that new bond can be with anybody at the table. It can still be with Fred. The bond could just have changed because of the interaction we had. Or I can pick someone new based on something that happened in the game and say, now I have a bond with them.
Cool.
And so if you wanted to combine those systems, you could use the bond system as a way to earn action points that you could then spend to get advantage or to do a stunt or whatever in the game. And that wouldn't slow the game down really, because it's something you do at the end of session or at the end of an adventure. You go, hey, did we do this? We did this. I can cross that off. Okay, I get an action point for that. Cool. And then I know how many action points I have leading into the next stage of the adventure. You know what I mean?
Oh, Two Questions says that 13th Age has something similar where you have a relationship with icons who are powerful organizations or people. It can either add or subtract from your roles depending on whether you're going with or against the relationship, be it positive, ambiguous, or negative. I've heard of 13th Age. I've seen it in the stores. I've wanted a copy of it. Eventually, I'll break down and buy a copy of it because I'm very curious about it. So, but thanks for bringing that up, Two Questions. That's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could implement something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me want to implement a system in Runeth Kesha that relies on guilds. Yes.
Oh, we're gonna go that route. I'm gonna point you to Palladium's Superheroes and Villains book, or no, Spies. No, Ninjas and Super Spies book. Palladium does a lot of things, but one of the things that has a very interesting system for setting up organizations. Here, your organization is this level. You buy this package that gives you access to this type of equipment and these type of people. It was a lot of fun. It made for some interesting times.
Speaking of, just I picked up this supplement for 5e. Which is Be a Better Campaign Master. And half the reason that I picked it up is because it has a list of 51 different government types that you can put into different areas of your campaign. And it has, where are they? I went too far. It has a, damn it. It has a list of factions that are the same. Like it has pre-generated factions that you can add to your game, or like they're not. I say pre-generated; they're mostly generated.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of. Yeah, here you go. How many of these are there? Nation and faction generators. There's a 20-tier list of how to generate factions and nations.
Cool.
For your campaign. And I thought that was a really cool resource and was like, you know what? Since I'm working on a Scum and Villainy game that has a galaxy full of fucking planets. Now I can just, like, you guys land on a planet that I didn't expect you to go to. I can just pull out this book and go, here's what the government on this planet looks like. I'm going to pick this one.
Mm-hmm.
Pat wants to know what book that is again.
It's by Barker from Absolute Tabletop. It's called Be a Better Campaign Master, Book 1, Building the World. That up on the screen.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can put it in chat too.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to send me a copy, go ahead.
And it was cheap. It was like $7 or $8. Like, it's not an expensive book.
Cool. Yeah, that harkens back to a conversation I had with somebody, and the question for chat is, do roads matter?
Yes, roads matter.
Mm-hmm.
Infrastructure.
Where we're going,
matters.
we don't need roads.
Uh-huh. Well, what type of, if you don't need roads, why?
Because my car flies. It's a
Damn
DeLorean.
Damn straight, baby.
Uh,
That was a conversation. 2 questions I got into for a long time was, do roads matter, because that tells you what type of world and what type of campaign, what type of setting
Right.
and you're dealing with.
That's a really good question, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I gave a snarky answer.
No, that's fine.
I think it does matter. I
Mhm.
mean, because that's going to control stuff like inter kingdom commerce and things of that nature. It's going to have an impact on, all kinds of tourism and just general things. The infrastructure matters.
Well, and as Locke said, well, where we're going, we don't need roads. Well, that means you're a very, very highly magical society or a highly technical society where you don't use roads. You're flying. And that tells you something about what's going on as well.
I could make an argument that in the world of Eberron, D&D world setting, roads don't matter. They have airships, they have the lightning rail, and they have other magical means of travel. So the roads don't matter as much. There are roads, but they're not as important.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see that in their upkeep, though, and where they go and don't go. They're just localized.
And that's why I use the word infrastructure instead of just roads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was the lead into a long debating conversation we had a while ago. In real life, the Soviet Union banned roads between state capitals, SSR capitals, so Moscow could keep things more centralized. Why do we got to bring real life and facts into this? But
What else you guys got?
Mhm.
Guys, gals, non-binary pals. What do you have for us?
Yes, we love our chat. Chat often asks us very good questions and has very good insights.
We have the best audience, period.
We really do.
Mm-hmm. Of course, also chat's also 20 seconds behind, but we'll get there.
Which I'm glad it's behind, That way I have time to correct myself when I get stuttered or whatever.
Yes. Oh. So yeah, well, let's see. We've covered a whole bunch of different systems, just things you could steal and look at. Like I said, I twitch at the critical hit, critical fail deck. I will stand behind. They're a wonderful product, and I highly recommend you use them. But haven't been on the downside of that. Oh, there's some.
How often do I roll a 20?
I'm talking about me rolling a 1. I'm like, oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, but see, I play critical fails anyway, so.
Mm-hmm.
See, okay, I like that. Pat66 says, I took an idea from some books. I used teleport portals in a game that allowed travel between cities, but it was heavily taxed and controlled. So there's a place where you don't need roads,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to pay in order to move and move quickly. So yeah, that's
And well, what's that mean between the cities then? That means there's a whole lot of wilderness filled with things.
right. Yeah.
Well, Runeth Kesha has something similar. They're called teleportariums. They're technology left over from an advanced age that left. There's only a few of them in working order, but they do allow you to get from point A to point B really fast.
If you know where to find them.
And how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of pain meds. I've been out of pain meds since Sunday. That's why I'm rocking.
Well,
The
fair
insurance
enough.
company's fighting me on them.
bastards.
Siri Cat says, I often make teleportation magic no work in my worlds. You gonna walk.
Damn. No cheating in her world.
No. Speaking of teleportation circles, this is apropos of absolutely nothing. NASA released the picture of the Artemis 2 crew that's going to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 4 people, a woman, a black guy, and two white dudes. And it took about 4 seconds for the internet to adjust the picture to make it look like the team from Stargate SG-1.
Yeah,
that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. Highly recommend.
Ooh. Interesting that there's a lot of people who put limits on teleportation.
You know what? I think
outside of the traditional one that comes with the game itself.
Look, you're playing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Without, if you're just playing rules as they exist, if you're not really super homebrewing your D&D game, which I guess is the opposite of what we're talking about today. But anyway, I digress. That it is inevitable that the party is going to get some means by which to travel really fast anywhere on the planet. I mean, unless like there are some campaign specific ways that wouldn't. For example, you have an entire party of blood hunters. They're not getting teleport magic. But in a balanced party, odds are somebody in that group is going to wind up with teleportation magic. And the DM kind of has to be prepared for it. And I think that once players reach a certain level and they're starting to get to a point where they're soon going to be getting that teleportation magic. For example, I think it's 7th level. Druids get the tree walk spell that lets them teleport through one tree to any other tree they've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a DM, opening up some limited teleportation, you can only go from this place to that place, and you've had to work to gain access to it. And so you have a limited number of places you can teleport. You have sort of a network that you can tap into because you have done work for or saved or whatever this group, this faction now owes you a little bit. And so they've given you access to this network. Is a good way to sort of dip your toe into that and start adjusting your game to faster travel.
Yes.
Especially if you've played from like low level to high level, you know? So once you start letting them dip their toe into it and you start seeing how they're moving, how they're using that technology, that's going to give you, the DM, some idea of what it's going to be like when they just have that power. and how you need to adjust the way you write the plot so that they don't just you inform them there's a problem here and they go, we're there. And now they're thwarting your bad guys' plans before they got off the ground. You know what I mean? Like, giving them limited access really helps you ramp up to them actually having that power. And so I think that's a smart thing.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to chat. 2 questions. Says that they'd argue even in teleportation airships, roads still matter because they're low cost. Sure, PCs can charter teleportation services, but regular people in bulk cargo still use barges and roads. I can see that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know I'm going to butcher this name, and I apologize, but Saf Rudinali says that want to know what we thought about the convention that we were speaking about at the beginning of this. And give a quick summary. Raph, go ahead and grab that one.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. Yeah, it, like I said, it wasn't a highly publicized thing, and there's been a lot of negative hits so far on the internet because it's the internet. But as we've kind of discussed earlier, it was an attempt by Wizard of the Coast to reach out to the community and actually collaborate, work with, communicate with what they're looking to go forward with in the D&D universe. And parts were handled well, parts were not handled well, which is about par for the course for Wizards of the Coast. Like we said, we see more of the dysfunction between the C-suite executives trying to make money and the average, the workers and the creators decide Wizards of the Coast trying to make the game. So all in all, I think our stance here, just community, has been a cool. You reached out, you're working with the community, at least try something. At least you're trying to talk to the community. Good on you. And we'll sit back and wait and see what actually comes out over the next year and is actually published and actually pushed out for pricing and so forth. So still a lot of early speculation. So that's pretty much the summary of our discussion earlier. About hitting it on the head.
Yeah.
You're muted, Knock.
I nod emphatically. Yes. No, that about sums it up.
Yep. Cool. Okay, Siri Cat, back on the teleportation thing. To be fair, while I stopped teleportation standard magic from working, I usually have travel gates or rings or something to give you limited access. Like an open world game where you get a fast travel point when you unlock an area.
And that's fair. Pat66 says teleporting removes random travel encounters, usually not in Runa's Kesha. There are creatures that live in the in-between that will attack you when you teleport.
Uh-huh. And who says teleportation is 100% perfect?
Well, if it's teleportation and you have an object from where you're going, it is.
Yeah.
Make sure that's where you're going?
But getting from point A to point B, there's still danger. And then there's always the good old-fashioned wild magic surges.
Yeah, I very rarely play a wizard, but I remember playing a wizard in an earlier edition of D&D. And in my bag of holding, I had a collection of rocks. And the rocks had, affixed to them a little note that said where it came from. And so anytime we needed to teleport anywhere, I just reached into the bag of holding and thought about that rock and pulled out the rock from that place and then teleported and then put the rock away and then kept going. Like, so that we could just get to where any place we had been before, any new place we went, I picked up a rock.
I got two things to that. One is, just because you picked up the rock, 2 months ago, does not mean that place is the same place it was when you picked it up. Time advances all over the place. Things change. That girl we supported suddenly fell in that 2 months you were gone. What?
Yeah, that's fine. But that doesn't mean we can't teleport safely to that area.
True.
Because the rules say that we teleport safely to that area without any incident getting there.
That's right. Getting there.
That's the important part.
Yep. And then 2 questions. Werewolf Apocalypse has moon bridges and usually mandated a combat encounter when using them as spirits are drawn to such a display of power. Yes.
Yeah.
Or
That's
the
another
in-betweeners.
Yeah.
They are creatures that live in the in-between. If you think of like when you look at an object and it casts a small shadow, that's the in-between, and they will attack teleporters, especially people that use teleportariums.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more interesting mechanics I've encountered. This game's not officially published yet, but I've been helping work on it from time to time. The game is called Elements of Adventure, and it's a fantasy world setting. Magic is interesting in the world because all magic is elemental based, and there are no spells. Your power in the magic decides how much damage it is if you do a damage dealing thing with your magic. And your magic just has to be themed to the element that you're using. And so you get to create your spell effect. And the DM sort of goes, yeah, that actually works. But no matter how cool your spell effect is, it can't do more than the damage of your power level. But yeah, you could find interesting ways to use your power. It promoted a lot of thinking outside the box with your magic. But their rogue class in that game had the ability to step into the ether, into the ethereal plane. The problem is the ethereal plane is the highway between life and death, where spirits travel. Spirits die and head towards the realm of death through the ethereal plane. And there are very powerful entities, I think he calls them Reapers, that patrol that area. And anything that is alive that steps into the ether shines like a beacon calling to these Reapers. And
Nice.
so the longer you spend in the ethereal plane, the more danger you're in, because the Reapers are that you're drawing them to you. And one of the meaner things you can do at higher levels, if you have the right combination of classes, is you can literally grab someone and yank them into the ether with you and then abandon them.
Nice.
Now, they
All
can
right.
get out. All they have to do is interact with the physical world in some way. The physical world still sort of exists there. And anything that, like, if they attempt to touch something with purpose or grab something, it'll pop them back into the real world. But people who don't travel in the ether don't generally know that. So, oh God, Reapers.
All right. We're going to go ahead and call it for today. I need to rest before work.
Yep.
But you have been an absolutely beautiful audience as always.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for selecting my new streaming attire. I will be doing shirts and ties from now on. And just thank you for being here today. Thank you for the new people too.
Yes, thank you.
We love having people. For the new people, we do actual play D&D streams Saturdays at 8 o'clock, Sundays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. It's 2 campaigns that impact each other. I am the DM for those. These guys play in them. We've got a great cast, great story.
Yeah,
it'll
rainbows,
be fun.
puppies, and unicorns.
Exactly.
That's what he promised us.
We never got. I never saw. No, we didn't like the puppy he gave us at all. Bad puppy.
All right, let's remind people who we are, where they can find us, and let's get the hell out of here.
Greetings, gamers. I've been Raft Mad, one of your co-hosts on this weird and strange journey we've taken, and I can be found at BLK Dragon 13,000 at Dice Stack Camp on Mastodon.
Hi, gamers. I'm still Locke Clark, and you can find me on the social medias at Locke Unruly. That's Locke with an H.
And I'm Tier the DM. I'm the world's okayest DM. And you can find me over at Twitter at Tier_the_DM. Remember that you are not alone. Times get dark. Times get hard. Find people that love you and rest in their love and strength until you're strong enough to let others rest in yours. Remember that love and inclusion, these are the torches that light a path to a better tomorrow. Come join us and be torchbearers. And until next time, if someone doesn't know, don't cast aspersions, cast guidance. Love you guys.